Hi, Anime Guy here. Previously, we saw Kotoko rushing to a location upon being informed by a friendly ghost that she is about to harm a human. Getting there, she sees that the human is in fact Kuro-kun. Seeing this, Kotoko wonders what Kuro-kun is doing there. She hides in a corner and observes the fight. On the other hand, Kuro-kun seems to have no fighting skills as he keeps dodging the attacks from Steel Lady Nanase. Shortly after, Saki-san arrives at the scene and is angry that Kotoko asked a monster to summon her and had left the place they were supposed to meet. However, her anger didn't last too long as she sees the Steel Lady in a fight with a human. At first, she has no idea who the human is and opts to help him out, but is stopped by Kotoko. After observing closely, she realizes that the human is her ex-boyfriend, Kuro-kun. Saki-san gets worried that the Steel Lady would harm Kuro-kun and tries once again to step forward. Her attempts are halted once again by Kotoko, who feels that the Steel Lady has no chance against him. This is due to the immortality he had gained from eating mermaid flesh. The fight between the two continues, and Kuro-kun slips and falls on the ground. This gives the Steel Lady the perfect opportunity to smash his head with her steel beam, killing him. This sight causes Saki-san to panic, as this is the first time she has seen him die. Seeing her like this, Kotoko wonders why she would be reacting this way when they had dated for so long. Meanwhile, Kuro-kun's death does not last for long, as he comes back to life almost immediately. Standing up, he walks straight to the Steel Lady, who at this time thought she had killed him and was walking away. Noticing his presence, she turns and tries to strike him with the steel beam once again. However, he stops just as it is about to hit him and immediately grabs her by the neck. This move seems so easy that Saki-san thinks it is premeditated. It didn't seem so for Kotoko, who knew Kuro-kun's history. Apparently, over 10 generations before Kuro-kun, the head of the family at the time had tried to seek a way for his family to be able to predict the future. This was because, at the time, eating the flesh of any yokai would mean gaining the strengths that particular yokai had possessed while alive. The yokai who had the ability to predict the future was a kudan. Unfortunately, the kudan had one disadvantage. Predicting the future would mean immediate death. This didn't seem to bother the head, who went along with trying the experiment on him and his household. This led to the death of most and the eventual death of the rest after they had successfully predicted the future once. However, after many decades, the family figured out the power associated with eating mermaid flesh. This prompted another round of experiments that led to Kuro-kun's grandmother offering both kudan and mermaid flesh to Kuro-kun and some other children to eat. Surprisingly, Kuro-kun was the only one who had survived, making him the first successful test subject. Since then, his grandmother tried hurting and killing him in different ways to test the power, making him immune to pain in the process. Back to the present. Kuro-kun successfully kills the Steel Lady, but she stands up after and disappears. Seeing this, Kotoko is convinced that the Steel Lady cannot be killed so easily. The three meet up, and Saki-san gets a chance to talk to Kuro-kun. They all head back to Saki-san's apartment. There, Kuro-kun tells them that he fought the Steel Lady because the monsters had come to seek his help. This is surprising, looking at the fact that the monsters earlier feared him. However, he says it might be because they had seen him with Kotoko and had grown fond of him. About the Steel Lady's inability to die, Kotoko reveals that this is because she is a monster of imagination, stating that she had been formed due to the frenzy of rumors carried about by the people of the internet. As unbelievable as it sounded, it definitely felt true to Saki-san. Still in the apartment, Kotoko tries to explain her theory for them to understand. She says that the Steel Lady came to life due to the desires of people who have imagined her to be a real ghost. According to her, the Steel Lady has no will of its own, but moves based on how people want her to, making her different from other yokai and ghosts. Hearing this, Kuro-kun asks how the Steel Lady can be defeated. Kotoko reveals that the only way to defeat a monster of imagination like her would be to come up with a story that will conquer that imagination. To do this, she seeks Saki-san's help to get valid information on Nanase Karin, who turned out to be the Steel Lady after she died. She says that they have to create a new belief for people to move their minds to, in the process making the Steel Lady irrelevant. To do this, she requires accurate information about Nanase. While Saki-san is reluctant about revealing information, Kotoko finds the files on Nanase Karin, which had been handed to Saki-san by Tarada-san. Although Saki-san continues to feel reluctant about sharing this information, she eventually agrees, and they analyze analyze the cause of her death. Looking at it, they figure out that her death could possibly not be a suicide as the police had stated, outlining the fact that when the steel beam fell on her, she didn't seem to defend herself, and they found this weird, and Kotoko decides to take them to the scene of Nanase's death. Getting there, she summons a ghost who had been in the construction site where the death happened for a long time. After asking him, he tells them that everything actually happened as the police had stated in the files, and the girl really didn't defend herself from the steel beams as they fell on her face. Having verified this, Kotoko tasks herself with figuring out the perfect solution for the problem. While heading back home, Kuro-kun asks Kotoko if she will be able to come up with a solution. This gets her worried, as she thinks she would be able to come up with different moves, but has no idea which of them would end up as the plan. She asks if Kuro-kun would be able to take a look at the future and figure out which will work. He tells her that his powers do not allow him to see that far into the future, as he would be willing to die over and over to help her. He tells her to be careful, as she can be killed if she isn't. Meanwhile, Terada-san tracks down the Steel Lady and tries to arrest her. Unknown to him, he can't touch her as she is a ghost. He realizes this when he tries to punch her as she attacks him, but is unable to. Now closer to him, the Steel Lady smashes his head with her steel beam. The death of Terada-san makes waves on the internet, and Saki-san finds out about it. She blames herself for not warning him about the Steel Lady. The police investigate her, since it was seen that she had been the last person he messaged. Saki-san realizes that she would have to go all in with Kotoko to figure out a way to defeat the Steel Lady, since the police would be unable to. Back in her room, Kotoko checks through the latest comments on the internet about the Steel Lady. She sees that people have attributed the death of Terada-san to the Steel Lady, even without proof. They all talk about the pattern in which she executed the murder as one of her prominent features. Surprisingly, all she says doesn't seem to bother Kuro-kun so much as he is distracted with the size of Nanase's chest. This pisses Kotoko off, as she wonders if he had always fantasized about things like that. She calms down, and eventually they go back to analyzing the case. Shortly after, Saki-san arrives. She asks for verification on the fact that the Steel Lady was responsible for Terada-san's death. Kotoko tells her that one of the ghosts who saw how it all happened had told her about it. They feel this is a bigger problem than they have had to deal with, looking at the fact that the Steel Lady had committed an actual murder. Kotoko feels there would be more victims from now on, since the Steel Lady would grow more powerful from the more opinions and thoughts people would have for her, making it harder to defeat her. All these thoughts make Kotoko panic, as she seems to be out of options for what to do. After a moment of thinking, she comes up with 4 solutions to defeat the Steel Lady, and is confident that it will all happen that night, no matter what. Kuro-kun is impressed at her show of confidence and pats her hair, making Saki-san jealous. Having exhausted herself from thinking too much about the case, Kotoko falls asleep. This allows Kuro-kun and Saki-san an opportunity to talk about their relationship, since they haven't really had the chance to do so since they broke up. They end up talking about Kuro-kun's cousin, Rika-san, who Saki-san says is his preference in women, seeing as how beautiful she was, and at the time they met for the first time. Saki-san recounts his first encounter with Kuro-kun's cousin, Riki-san. Seeing her, she realized that she would probably have been Kuro-kun's first love. Realizing this, she panicked and asked to be excused. While in the cafe, she hears 2 women talking about her and the fact that she had gone in for surgery after almost committing suicide. Saki-san believes that Riki-san is dead after hearing the rumors going about in the hospital. However, Kuro-kun reveals that Riki-san isn't really dead, reminding her that Riki-san is his cousin. This means she possesses the same immortality that is being possessed by Kuro-kun. This revelation causes a weird feeling between Saki-san and Kuro-kun. Seeing this, and now awake, Kotoko wonders what might have happened in the short moment that she fell asleep. Due to how awkward they felt, Kuro-kun asks to leave while Saki-san gets to drive Kotoko home. In the car, Kotoko seeks to find out what had happened between them, but is answered with a question by Saki-san, who wants to know if she had met Kuro-kun's cousin, Riki-san. Kotoko confirms that she has, and narrates her experience to her. She recounts how Riki-san had first said she wasn't a good fit for Kuro-kun, and eventually got close to her. Later on, the doctors who had kept Riki-san in the hospital didn't see the need to do so anymore, so they decided to throw her out. However, she realized this and decided to leave herself. While packing her things, she had suggested to Kuro-kun that she would want to move to his place, since she has nowhere to go. Hearing this, Kuro-kun freaks out and decides to call Kotoko Kotoko to ask her for help. Being the goddess of wisdom, Kotoko recounts that she figured out the situation and used it as an opportunity to get what she wants from him. She demands his house key. This demand didn't sit so well with Kiro-kun, who imagined how uncomfortable it would be to have Kotoko around. However, he is forced to comply and agrees to give her the key in exchange for accommodating his cousin. Kotoko tells Saki-san that after a while, Rika-san decided to leave the house as she claimed to have found a job and a place to stay. This was around the same time when Kiro-kun had ghosted her for a week and returned to fight the Steel Lady. He apparently had ghosted her to find Rika-san after finding out that she had left the house. Shockingly, Kotoko reveals that Rika-san is the one responsible for creating the Steel Lady, as the picture of the Steel Lady, which exists on the internet, is the same design as Rika-san's. She states the Steel Lady is in fact a creation of Rika-san, who had grown obsessed with creating a future of her own. Furthermore, revealing the secret which Kiro-kun had been so keen on not wanting Saki-san to know, shortly after, the ghost of a cat comes to inform Kotoko about the appearance of the Steel Lady in another location. Hearing this, she urges Saki-san to drive there, while firstly picking up Kiro-kun. When they get there, Kiro-kun comes down from the car and goes to do battle with the Steel Lady. This enables Kotoko to begin her own battle against the comments that people are dropping on the internet, which had fueled the existence of the Steel Lady. She is determined that she would be able to fight their lies with even more concrete lies, enabling them to defeat the Steel Lady and nullify the evil deeds of Rika-san. Will Kotoko be able to successfully defeat Rika-san in this battle? We'll find out that and more in the next part of this recap. For now, kindly like this video and subscribe to our channel to get more anime recaps like this. Till then, kindly suggest the next anime series you would like to see recapped, and we promise to make it as breathtaking as this is. Take care and stay safe.